Harry Kane. What is going to happen with Harry Kane at Spurs? Bayern Munich apparently determined to pay what it takes to get Harry Kane out of Spurs and up front for Bayern Munich. I completely understand why they would want to do that. I actually thought Bayern Munich played very well against Manchester City in the Champions League. They just didn't have a striker, and they had a very poor performance from Upamecano, which took the game away from them. So you can see why Bayern Munich would want Harry Kane. Apparently, Harry Kane hasn't officially handed in any transfer request, but he is making it very clear that he will not be signing a new contract. This creates a scenario for Spurs where if they keep Harry Kane for a year, maybe he scores 30 goals, I still don't think you get top six, and then he walks out the door for 0. Is now the time, Spurs fans, for Harry Kane to leave? Is this the time where Daniel Levy and Tottenham's hierarchy really have to say this stubbornness isn't anything more than an ego fest? Because the reality is, if you take £80 million for Harry Kane now, you start the rebuild a year early with £80 million, whereas in a year's time, he's gone for nothing anyway. I understand why they wouldn't want to sell him to Manchester United or Newcastle or Chelsea because it's a Premier League rival. But surely a sale to Bayern Munich, out of sight, out of mind, £80 million. The biggest thing would be, how would you spend that £80 million? I know there's talk of Jonathan David and people like that, but for what Spurs are doing under a new manager, it's a bit like Mason Mount and Havertz and Kovacic leaving Chelsea as Pochettino comes in. In a way, that helps Pochettino. It's extra funds. It's a new start. I don't understand this. Clearly, Harry Kane would like to move. Clearly, you're not going to get any money in a year's time. Is it really worth keeping Harry Kane for another year, Spurs fans? I'd love to know what your thoughts are on that, because I just think that it's time for him to move on, which is perfect, actually, because we've got Rich, who's a Spurs fan, and he wants to talk about Harry Kane. So do you agree with what I've just said there, Rich, or have you got an opinion that you should keep him?
I don't agree with anything you said. I want to know where this clearly he wants to leave come from. This clearly he's not going to sign a new contract come from. I just think I'm just sick to death, to be honest with you. I listen to talkSPORT on the way home from work every day, and I'm just sick to death. I've had 6 years of talkSPORT trying to sell Harry Kane. That's all you lot have done for 6 years, of tried to sell Harry Kane. Goodbye.
Thanks, Rich. Just to confirm, we do not own Harry Kane. We cannot sell Harry Kane. Look, Rich is obviously a Spurs fan who's just finding it hard to deal with the fact that Harry Kane does want to leave Spurs because he's not negotiating a new contract. Harry Kane could stay at Spurs. He could sign a new contract. And he will retire without a trophy. He will retire without a winner's medal, but he will retire with Alan Shearer's goal scoring record. I think Harry Kane's better than that. I speak to fans different to Rich, who say, look, Harry Kane hasn't been provided the platform at Spurs to win things. That's our problem. It's not his. He's a legend no matter what. The best thing Harry Kane can do for us now is give us 80 million quid to rebuild without him. And a lot of Spurs fans think it's time to move on under a new manager. Rich obviously doesn't think so, but there you go. And, a little bit like Spurs, Rich, you didn't let me come back. You bottled it. But let's get another Spurs fan. Adrian, I don't know whether you heard what Rich had to say, but what are your thoughts on Harry Kane? And should he be running his contract down or should you be moving him on this summer?
I did hear what Rich said, and I promise you I will not hang up like he did. But I honestly think that there's a very high possibility he's going to run his contract down till the end of the season, and then he's going to sign a totally new contract on a much higher wage. If you actually look at the clubs that would actually want Harry Kane at 32 years old or however old he's going to be, I think you're looking at hardly anyone. Arsenal, I don't think, would want him, and he certainly wouldn't go to Arsenal. Perhaps Chelsea, but only because Pochettino's there. And let's face it, he might not be there for very long. Manchester United, perhaps. But apart from that, I think most clubs would look at him as saying a 32-year-old over the hill. He could stay at Tottenham. He'll be loved forever at Tottenham. And I've just got a funny feeling he's just going to renew it, not renew. He's just going to have a totally new contract on a much higher salary, and he's going to stay. He'll win nothing because, I mean, this is coming from a Tottenham fan. You know, Tottenham are, you know, a disaster in so many different ways, but he will be loved forever.
Adrian, I just want to ask you one question. If you were Daniel Levy and you had the power here, would you be pushing the move to BeIN to get £80 million for the new manager, or would you run the risk of you'd run that risk of another year? Yeah.
Well, no, but here's the question you've got to ask yourself. Okay, 80 million. What can you get nowadays for 80 million?
Good point.
That will actually replace someone of the quality of Harry Kane? You'd be better off not getting that 80 million, okay, in my opinion, and then giving him $500,000 a week or whatever it is, just to keep him there. And you never know. James Maddison and him with Son could pair up as a trio and be absolutely fantastic. I'm not saying they're going to win anything because Tottenham are too Spursy for that, but I think he's going to stay. I really do.
Adrian, fantastic call. Thanks for not hanging up. Let's go to another Spurs fan. We've got Reese, who actually wants to talk about the Maddison and Kane link up. Is that something that you think might cause Harry Kane to actually elongate his stay at Spurs then, or would you cash in, Reese?
Well, you're right there, Mark.
Yeah, good, mate.
My personal opinion is Harry Kane's got. We talk about loyalties in football nowadays, and it's all about the money. But I definitely do think Harry Kane has got his loyalties to Spurs, and I think in a perfect world, Harry Kane stays as a Spurs fan. But at the end of the day, in football's about money, and if he wants trophies and if he wants all the success, good luck to him. Do you know what I mean? I hope he has a good career. But personally, if I was Harry Kane and I move elsewhere, and all of a sudden, all of my Spurs lovers, because as Tottenham fans, we all love Harry Kane, there's no doubt about it. But would you rather kill your legacy and go somewhere else as a Tottenham fan? Because personally, if he went to another Premier League club, I would still respect him as a player, but he's I wouldn't say dead to me, but he's not still in my good books. But I think Harry Kane over the past few years, since Eriksen's left, has had to play a two-man role. He's had to play the number 10, where you see him drop back, and he's had to play that striker position. No player should be expected to play two roles to the level that he has done. And I think Maddison coming in will just set him alight. And I know however old he is now, 31, 32, he's getting on, but he's still got a couple of years left in him. And I honestly think Maddison comes along, he then fills that Eriksen role, which we ain't had for a few years, and he comes along. If Maddison plays to how Maddison can play, I think Harry Kane will be set alight, and it gives us one final chance with Harry Kane to win a trophy. And if we do, I personally see Harry Kane staying.
Interesting. A couple of people have said Harry Kane's 30, heading to 31. He's 29, heading to 30. So you've still got a bit of time with him. What I was going to ask Reese was, I suppose if I phrase this scenario, if Harry Kane behind the scenes has said to Daniel Levy, I want to go, but I'm not going to put an official transfer request in, and Daniel Levy's got an offer from Bayern Munich there, knowing that and knowing that he's probably going to leave for nothing next summer, would you sell him to Bayern and take the 80 million now, or would you gamble on next season he might change his mind?
But you've got to understand, at the end of the day, like Adrian said before, what does 80 million buy you nowadays? If Mason Mount, I personally don't understand the Mason Mount slander, but I do not think he's a £60 million player. If you telling me Harry Kane is worth 20 million more than Mason Mount, and I can understand the contract, but at the end of the day, back in the day when we sold Bale, and I know the players we bought in weren't spectacular and they didn't set the club alight, but the money we had for Bale was enough to rebuild. 80 million is not enough to rebuild.
Yeah. Good point. Reese, thank you very much for calling in. Really appreciate that. We've got a few Spurs fans who are calling in at the moment about this Harry Kane situation. And the surprise for me is that a lot of Spurs fans are saying, what do you get for 80 million? Keep him. In fact, we've got, is it Eli says Harry Kane could end up staying long term. Do you really think that could happen, Eli?
To be honest with you 3 or 4 Tottenham Hotspur fans who have phoned in there that we've listened to so far, it's a double-edged sword. The crack is, at the end of the day, one, it's loyalty, that everybody should respect, not pound notes or cups, loyalty. And the main thing is, where did Tottenham Hotspur find the goals that Harry scored last season and the other seasons coming into this new season with the new manager? The goals won't be there. We'll end up middle of the table or just beneath and a begging bowl out of cups because we haven't got a goal scorer. The Richarlison, Christ, if he ain't on the injury bench, I don't know where the man is. And he's, scored 3-4 goals for us for 60 million quid? Now, Harry Kane is worth double that 80 million quid. Then we could rebuild. 80 quid don't get you anywhere. For me, Harry Kane stays. Harry Kane should be told to sign asked to sign a new contract, stay loyal, stay with the club, because 80 million quid ain't worth the goals that we would not get to keep us in the Premiership or in at least middle of the table. The goals are not there from the team. Not from Maddison, not from Richarlison. Maddison and the Kane son, our ginger Swede link up, I see that, but we leak goals from our goalkeeper and the defence. So that's got to be worked on the right as well. But back to Harry, for me, the man stays. Loyalty means more. Goals mean more to our club. And Levy, you should be pulling your finger out to get that man signed up for another 3-year contract.
Eli, thank you very much. Great call. Lots of passion there. We're hearing from Spurs fans, don't sell him for £80 million. We won't get anything in. Let's keep him and try and get him on a new contract.